Good evening, race fans, and welcome to round number 6 of the American Sim Racing Club Super Late Model Touring Series. We are here today at the Daytona International Speedway, the short road course layout. My name is Mason Heimball with Team Goon Squad, bringing you the action here tonight, 1080p, 60 frames a second. Folks, I hope you all are excited for the action here tonight, as this is going to be the very first time that we have covered road course action here with the Super Late Model Touring Series with American Sim Racing Club since the start of our coverage here with American Sim Racing Club. Now, from what I understand, during Season 1 of the Super Late Model Touring Series, they did run at, the name of the track is eluding me now, but either way, either how, this will be the first time in quite a while that drivers here have seen a road course layout. And so for the first time in quite some time, drivers will not only be turning left, but right as well, as we are currently looking at Brett Hahn making his way around the track here. Going to be setting his qualifying time here today, as Andrew Payne has already set his best time with a 39.74 here around the mile-long short road course layout here that we have at Daytona. And Brett Hahn there a little bit unsteady there, it looks like. Getting himself collected back together as he makes his way out of turn 1 now. But either way, folks, this is going to be quite the race to witness here, as there is quite a few drivers here that I'm going to be really the whole field I'm going to be watching out for and seeing just how they handle these road courses specifically. I mean, frankly, this is kind of a one-off deal, if you will, but either way, either how, this is going to be exciting nonetheless, as kind of stepping away from the usual short track ovals that these drivers are traditionally used to seeing, and coming to a just a little bit over a mile long road course. Well, things get a little bit interesting, as currently our qualifying, David Payton there even trying to slow that 38 machine down, still up on the grass there. But as qualifying here still underway at this point in time, just about under 2 minutes left to go before we see the checkered flag fly. Jackson Lewis is going to be completing his, I believe, his final lap. Actually, that is incorrect. It is 3 laps that drivers have for their qualifying run here. So Jackson Lewis on his second one at this point in time. Lewis sitting currently, I actually don't see it. He's actually, so his first qualifying lap was not counted, I'm certain, probably due to being off track somewhere or another. Either way, either how, this time, that time around he was able to place himself into 9th on the timing tower, but not without sending himself spinning into turn 1. And frankly, folks, I have been watching drivers here throughout practice here, as well as obviously qualifying, and this track, this car track combination, spicy to say the least. I mean, that is the simplest and kindest way to put it. It's spicy. It's going to be really interesting to see how this race is going to progress. And the race itself, let's get into that here real quick, as we just have just over 30 seconds before we wrap things up here for qualifying. So qualifying, our heat race, if you will, is still going to be, as per usual, looks like 18 drivers that we will see for that heat race. 3 laps that we will be completing for that as well. So, very short heat race, short-ish, in relation to what we normally see here for the Super Late Model Touring Series. And then our feature is where things get a little bit interesting. So, lap 10 and 20, we are going to see a competition caution. Now, normally, actually, let's go ahead and get into our starting grid here, as we have that available and ready for us. So let's take a look here and see where our drivers are going to start for the beginning of our heat race here today. David Payton, the number 38 machine, going to be taking first place here with Jackson Lewis starting off in second in that number 7 machine, rounding out your first row. Tim Rogers, the number 48 machine, going to be taking third place. Hayden Swank starting off in fourth, rounding out your second row. Austin Nielsen in the 52 taking 5th place. Nick Fleury in 6th place in the 25 machine, rounding out the third row. Brian Wilderson in 7th. Ron Hart in 8th place. Brett Hahn taking the 9th place spot. Brett Hahn also winning last week's race at, I believe it was Bristol. I have to correct myself on that. It was Bristol. Okay, glad I was right on that one. Andrew Payne taking 10th place here. Nathan Henry in 11th. Matthew Catania taking that 12th place spot. Moving on down the grid here. 13th is Billy Thomas. Justin Callahan in 14th. John Kane in 15th. John Senu in 16th. John DeMeester in 17th. Tanner Tallarico, who actually is not, again, we see this name pop up every single week, and I have to mention it every time just because, you know, I got to clarify. Tanner Tallarico is the actual owner/administrator for this race, so he's just overseeing things and is just happening to, you know, showcase himself here in the starting grid. But anyway, anyhow, Charles Darling is actually rounding out our field here in that number 88 machine, starting off technically in the 19th spot, but it will be 18th. Anyway, anyhow, drivers currently stacked up behind the pace car here, getting themselves ready to rock and roll. You can see that beautiful Porsche safety car that we have ready to start our grid off. And again, 3 laps that we are going to have here for our heat race once the pace car makes its way down into pit road, which pit road is kind of more or less a diversion off the track, more than it is actually a pit road in and of itself. But I digress. David Payton here, Tim Rogers going to be at the very tippy top of this starting grid here. Excuse me, David Payton and Jackson Lewis. Now, what's interesting here, if taking a look at last week's race results, Brett Hahn, Jason, well, actually, you know, we can't even really go into that because this is, oh man, this is all new territory. As we see Brett Hahn, I'm not sure what he's doing there. I think he's actually letting, yeah, he is. He's letting drivers on by because of the shotgun rule, if I am not mistaken. So Brett Hahn going to be starting at the very tail end of the field here, again, as per the shotgun rule. But anyhow, back to my point. We're going into some new territory here, folks. I mean, taking these super late models onto a road course, this is bound to be quite the interesting race in of itself. But for these drivers, it's a lot. It's really a lot that these drivers are going to have to get themselves prepared for, as the pace car has made the safety car actually has made its way down into the pit road. And we are getting ourselves ready for the green flag to fly here for the very first time at Daytona International Speedway. David Payton, the number 38 machine, with the start going into turn 1. The whole field stacking up right behind him. We're 3 wide into turn 1 here. Hayden Swank, Nick Fleury, Austin Nielsen, it looked like also stacked up in that combo. Look at this beautiful field charging their way through this circuit. Hayden Swank sitting in 4th place. Oh, the 051 with a heck of a charge. Ron Hart almost sends it into the grass, keeps it together. We're still racing here. Who's this down in the grass? Tim Rogers, the 48 machine, finding himself in the wrong spot of the track here. David Payton once again trailing his way back into turn 1 as drivers continue to try and find any positions that they can gather behind David Payton at this point, who has a little bit of room to work with at this point. Jackson Lewis just over a quarter of a second behind that 38 machine, as we're still locked on with Nick Fleury in the 25. Andrew Payne on his outside there for just a moment. Drivers going single file here down the long straight out of turn 3, heading into turn 4 now. The final lap is out. The white flag is flying. David Payton still holding on to this lead here. quite impressively as well, might I add. But back here towards third place and beyond, it's quite the battles happening. As we got a car sideways, it's Justin Callahan and Brett Hahn. Brett Hahn, the driver, starting at the tail end of the field, getting collected into this one on the final lap of the heat race. That is going to be absolutely tremendous. Hayden Swank also getting into the grass here. While we were focused on that, the checkered flag is flying. David Payton, Jackson Lewis duking it out here. Who's going to come across the line? Jackson Lewis slides it sideways across the line. Wow, what a finish from the number 7 of Jackson Lewis. Austin Nielsen, the 52, coming in just behind in third place. Ron Hart in fourth. Andrew Payne in fifth place here for this heat race. My, oh my. Folks, if that doesn't give you a preview of what's to come here for the feature, I really don't know what else. What else will? That was quite the race that we just witnessed here, as it looks like... All right, there we go. So that is going to conclude the end of our heat race here. Taking a look at our heat race results, David Payton taking home the win here with Jackson Lewis in second, Austin Nielsen in third, Ron Hart in fourth, Andrew Payne in fifth place. So David Payton here, you know, really had, I would say, the best chance at really this heat race, the start of this heat race, and going into the feature, he's going to have an even better spot. I mean, when it comes to road course racing, you want to start as close to the front as you possibly can, because that's where it's going to matter. Now, given that these are the super late models, things kind of change a little bit, because these cars aren't designed to go onto road courses, right? We're used to seeing these cars on your ovals. You know, we're used to seeing them at Bristol. We're used to seeing them at Irwindale. We're used to seeing them at Martinsville. We're not used to seeing them here at Daytona. What? What in the world is this? So the fact that we're even here is, well, a challenge. To put it simply, it's a challenge. To the drivers, it's going to be a massive challenge to their skills, and really to anyone sitting in the championship. I mean, again, this is kind of a one-off as far as the race schedule goes. As far as I'm aware, I don't think we're going to see another road course on the schedule going forward. But either way, either how, this kind of throws a wrench in the gear for these drivers and for everyone involved. So really, it just poses for a lot of exciting racing, and I really, really hope that everyone watching right now is excited, because I know that I certainly am. So, folks, get yourselves ready, because we have 30 laps here of exciting road course action here at Daytona International Speedway with the American Sim Racing Club Super Late Model Touring Series, as we watch Austin Nielsen send it spinning across the checkered line. And there you see, just out on top of your screen, Hayden Swank doing the same going into turn one. So, folks, this is going to be an exciting race. I hope you all are ready and got your snacks, got your drinks set aside and ready to go, because, folks, this isn't going to be your average ASRC race. This is going to be quite the show. So, I hope you're all ready. We're going to take a quick commercial break and get ourselves ready up here in the booth. But meanwhile, stay tuned. Don't go anywhere, and get yourselves ready for round number 6 of the American Sim Racing Club Super Late Model Touring Series. And we will be back for more iRacing right here on Team Goon Squad. And welcome back, folks, as we are getting ourselves ready to wrap up our, our warm-up here before we get into our feature race. As we have a little bit of technical troubles that we are sorting out here in the booth. Hopefully that gets itself worked out here as we get ourselves ready to head into the start of our feature race here. And it seems like that we are going to have to make some quick corrections up here in the booth, and we will get that sorted out here momentarily. But meanwhile, folks, we saw some pretty interesting results from our heat race, and going into this feature here, I gotta say, I'm excited. I've already said it multiple times here. I know that you folks are probably tired of hearing it at this point, but this track layout, this car configuration, it's just through the roof. I'm all for it. I love what we are going to see here tonight, and I hope that you all are ready to see what we've got here for tonight's race, as hopefully we will be able to have our grid up here for you folks here in just a moment. There we go. All right, now we're back to going things here. All right, so now that we got that figured out, I apologize for that, folks. That gets a little bit annoying sometimes. But anyway, anyhow, it's David Payton starting out in the very tippy top of the field here with Jackson Lewis in second place, rounding out your front row. Austin Nielsen in third, Ron Hart in fourth, Andrew Payne in fifth, Matthew Catania in sixth, Brian Wilderson in seventh, Billy Thomas in eighth, John Kane in ninth, Charles Darling in 10th, Nick Fleury in 11th, Hayden Swank going to be in 12th place here, John Senu in 13th, Nathan Henry in 14th, Justin Callahan in 15th, John DeMeester in 16th, Brett Hahn in 17th, and Tim Rogers going to be rounding out the field here in 18th, as I believe our pace safety car is about to make its way down into pit road here. Indeed it is. As we await the green flag to fly here, Jackson Lewis, David Payton side by side. David Payton on the loud pedal, nice and early, heading on into turn one. Let's see how the action unfolds here for drivers heading out of turn one here. We got to pay attention to what happens here. Oh man, looks like the 48, Tim Rogers, had a little bit of a moment there coming out of turn one, but let's keep an eye on what's happening up here towards the front of the field, heading up to the blimp camera. This is a great view. Oh, a little bit of a tap there from the 051 of Ron Hart to Jackson Lewis. Andrew Payne right on the tail of Austin Nielsen. Meanwhile, David Payton still leading this field, and again, folks, that's what I was saying right at the beginning of the broadcast, is that if you want to be successful in these road course races, you have to start as close to the front as you possibly can. Now, that's not always the case, but ideally, that's where you want to be, and David Payton right now looks to be in quite a comfortable spot as he's getting chased down by Jackson Lewis as well as Austin Nielsen. You can see Andrew Payne, Ron Hart as well, stacked up. All single file, a little bit of a shake there out of the 93 of Andrew Payne. Not sure if he was getting a little bit unsteady there or what was going on for that 93 machine, but out of curiosity, let's ride on board with one of our drivers here. Let's ride on board here with the 318 machine of Matthew Catania and take a lap on board here with the 318 machine and see exactly what it's like here on the short road course layout here at Daytona International Speedway. As Matthew Catania still right on the tail of fifth place driver Ron Hart in the 051 car. Heading into turn 1 here, this is where we've seen a lot of drivers have a little bit of mishaps. Oh, getting real loose there in the 318 machine. Now, if you're familiar with the Daytona International, the road course layout specifically, you will know that straightaway as well as this section of the course right here fairly well. If you have watched any kind of IMSA race or NASCAR, I believe NASCAR has ran this section. I'm not sure entirely, but you'll have to don't quote me on that one. As we're still just looking along, just seeing what our drivers are doing here. And this is exactly what you want to do as the leader. David Payton getting himself quite the gap. Well, not quite the gap. He's given himself enough room at this point in time to keep this lead. But right now, Andrew Payne is on the challenge here, getting side by side with David Payton coming out of, I believe that was turn number 3. It is heading into 4 now. Still side by side, but Andrew Payne is out on the tippy top here as the 93 takes the lead from David Payton. Lap 5 of 35 here, folks. The first lead change of the night, and it's Andrew Payne taking it. He is on a mission here. I'm not sure what Andrew Payne has got in that gas tank of the 93, but he is definitely moving away from this field very, very quickly. And for the rest of these drivers, that is going to be absolutely crucial to this race. I mean, to see a driver building a gap as much as Andrew Payne is right now, that's tough. That is very tough, especially in these cars where you're not going to really have a great time trying to catch back up. This is going to be, again, a true testament to the skill of all of these drivers here tonight. It is challenging every aspect of their driving skills as we see Austin Nielsen looking like he was getting awfully close to the rear end of the 051 of Ron Hart, keeping it together though. Meanwhile, just taking a look at the rest of our field here, just trying to get an idea of what the rest of our field is up to at this point in the race. Looking at the 318 of Matthew Catania. Hayden Swank right on his tail in the 35 machine. As they work their way now, I believe that's out of turn 4. And into turn 1 we go right now. Oh, you can see Nick Fleury right on the bumper of Austin Nielsen here, lap 8 of 35. So, again, folks, we are going to see competition cautions. It took me a moment to remember what it was. Lap 10 and lap 20. So, only essentially a lap and a half now before we see that first caution of the race come out. A pre-planned caution at that. So, this is going to stack the field back up. And to go back to what I was going to talk to at the beginning of the broadcast, if you're not familiar with what a competition caution is, normally, from what I understand, in NASCAR races, it's normally used as an opportunity for teams to get the cars in and inspect their tires. Now, this is usually key for races that might be dry at the start of the race and then see a little bit of rain, or maybe even rain at the start of the race. Either way, either how, the point being, it gives drivers, teams, an opportunity to inspect their tires and see what they need to do to go forward in the race. As John DeMeester seems to have a little bit of an issue here. That number 2 machine coming down to a complete stop here. Not exactly certain what happened there with that number 2 machine. We're going to have to go back and take a look here just real fast and see exactly what unfolded here. Taking a look now, just kind of out of curiosity. Oh, he just taps the throttle. You could hear it. just barely gets onto that throttle, and away that rear end goes, sends him spinning into the grass. 25 laps left to go here, folks, and again, we are going to see that pre-planned caution. There it is, right on cue. Competition caution flag is out, and we are going to see this field, I assume, either come down into the pits or just get themselves stacked back up here. I would have to imagine that they would be coming down into the pits. At least, whoa, man, actually, no, they wouldn't be. They shouldn't be coming down into the pits. I'm pretty sure these tires should last the entirety of the race here. So, essentially, we are going to be using these as a means to get the field stacked back up, give everyone a fair chance to really have a fair race, essentially, is what it boils down to. Given that this is a sim race, this isn't real life. We don't really need to come down into the pits to inspect our tires as per what we normally come down for a competition in real life races for. So this is kind of a means for really just to get the field stacked back up. You could almost kind of think of it as, well, you can't even really think of it as that. That's not really the right term. Anyhow, we'll think of it like that. It's really just getting the field back into restart position and making the race as exciting as possible and as fair as possible, I suppose you could say, for the entirety of the field. Again, like I talked about a little bit ago, some drivers here, they might be able to pull away a 1.5 second gap, just like Andrew Payne did just a moment ago. And for a race that's only 30 laps, technically, you kind of want to have as much competition as you possibly can. And so you could almost kind of think of these as mini heat races in of themselves. Kind of. You don't have to think of it like that, but you can kind of think of it like that if it makes it simpler. I'm just kind of spitballing here, but anyhow, folks, it really for me up here in the booth, it makes it a very interesting race through and through. I mean, to have this field get stacked back up both 2 times throughout the feature race here, it kind of, I don't know, it makes things a little bit more tense, I think, amongst the field. So we're going to have to see how that affects our drivers here as the race goes on, and as we see the pace car, the safety car, pace car, safety car, what's the difference? Make its way back down into the pits. I'm sure I'm going to probably catch a lot of flack for saying that here in just a few minutes, but that's fine. It was all in fun and games. But anyhow, let's go through our running field here at the moment as the safety car has made its way down into pit lane. Andrew Payne, David Payton, Jackson Lewis, Ron Hart, Austin Nielsen. Rounding out the top 5 here, the green flag is out here at Daytona International Speedway. With 22 laps left to go, technically at this point, Andrew Payne heading into turn 1, nice and smooth, right on the curb. Right where you want to be. You want to be as close to that curb as you possibly can. Any wider than that, you are going to lose pace coming out of that turn. Looking here now. Drivers heading out of turn 3, nice and smooth. Even as we had 2 wide battles there between Austin Nielsen as well as David Payton. Hayden Swank, and I couldn't see the other driver there, but either way, these drivers are all considering how difficult this track car combination is. Oh no, we already got a car sideways right as I was saying that. Nick Fleury, the 25 machine, gets spun around. Charles Darling's off in the grass as well. He gets back out on track. Surprisingly, the green flag stays out. And with 21 laps left to go, that is got to hurt some of the field here. Well, quite a significant amount of the field here. And surprisingly, well, probably not so surprisingly, Andrew Payne here, the 93 machine, has taken that 1.5 second gap that we saw just a little bit ago and has extended that now to nearly 3 seconds in total. So Andrew Payne here definitely seems to be the dominant driver here on these road courses. Well, at this road course in particular, here in the super late models. Great action that we're seeing here from all of our field, as right now we're looking at Austin Nielsen as well as David Payton duking it out side by side. Austin Nielsen with the advantage coming out of turn 3. Or excuse me, I believe that was turn 4. But Austin Nielsen here still looking quite impressive here, as he's got Ron Hart, Jackson Lewis just up in front of him. Ron Hart's trying to stay on the tail of that number 7 machine of Jackson Lewis as close as he possibly can. It's 19 laps left to go here, folks. And so far, this race has been quite smooth, I have to say. I mean, again, all things considered, this is quite the race. I mean, these drivers are all making this look like it's just easy. Let's ride on board here with Charles Darling in the number 88 machine and just show you all just how not easy it is to take a super late model around the short road course layout here at Daytona International Speedway. My, oh my, Charles Darling giving us quite the action here in that number 88 machine, duking it out there with the number 9 of Billy Thomas, as well as I think it was John Kane there for a moment. Charles Darling, that number 88 machine, who we saw involved in that little bit of a scuffle there just a few laps ago. He is hard charging his way back up here as close as he can to the front. Speaking of the front, we still have quite the battles happening up here between Jackson Lewis, Ron Hart, Austin Nielsen as well. Look at just behind them, Hayden Swank down on the inside. David Payton in that 38, they're going to be side by side here. Look at Ron Hart. I got my names all mixed up here tonight, folks. Brett Hahn, the 71 machine, trailing just on behind these drivers, heading on into turn 1, and kind of seems like Brett Hahn taking a very, very cautious approach. Oh, no. That is not what you want to see there, and exactly why a driver like Brett Hahn would take that cautious approach is because of situations like that. You know, you don't exactly know when the driver in front of you is going to make a mistake like that, and you only have so much time to save yourself and your car. So the fact that Brett Hahn gave himself all that time to be able to see that coming and slow that car down to prevent himself to getting into the rear end of that 35 car just in front of him at the moment. Gotta give credit to that 71 machine, Brett the Jetman. He knows what he's doing behind that wheel, and even here at the road course, you know, things are a little bit different. Obviously, you know, you're introducing a right-hand turn into things as well as left-hand, so, and there's also no banking, so kind of think of it as some short track, flat track racing here, so to speak. I'm only kidding, folks, but you know, this really ultimately for these drivers is, oh man, it's fun. I personally, watching, it's a lot of fun, and hopefully for the drivers in the car right now, they're having fun as well, because I personally think this looks like a blast. I mean, anytime that you take a car that doesn't belong on a road course and put it on a road course, you're going to have a great time. I guarantee it. I'm sorry, that was too real for me for a moment there. Anyhow, we were just looking at Hayden Swank getting into the grass there, coming out of turn 1, and turn 1 seems to be quite the place to, oh man, get yourself just in a really tough spot. Really, really tough spot. But Andrew Payne, in the meantime, he's in the best spot that he could possibly be in, as we are entering our final competition caution of the night, and we will see the final 10 laps here at the short layout at Daytona International Speedway. So fantastic racing that we've seen from all of our drivers here thus far, and I expect to see some even more fantastic driving as we get our field stacked back up and ready to go here. Now, heading back and taking a look back actually at our results from last week's race at Bristol Motor Speedway, Brett Hahn taking away the win for that race here, sitting currently in 6th place. 10 laps left to go. I mean, we've seen Brett Hahn move his way through the field time and time again, but again, folks, we're at a road course. This is where things get, all of our expectations can just get completely thrown out the window, because for us, for me specifically, I have no information to go off of as far as how these drivers do with these cars on a road course. Because frankly, you could take this car and you could put it on the Nürburgring, and that still wouldn't help me, because the Nürburgring is just absolute insanity. And my point being, folks, this is a really tough race to figure out who is the strong driver, who is the weak driver, who is the driver that's going to be the one to really save things all the way until the end. Is it going to be Brett Hahn? Does Brett Hahn have anything in the bag that we have yet to see? I mean, he's sitting in 6th place right now. He's up 11 positions from the start of this race and currently is the hard charger of the race. Again, up 11 positions from where he started at the very tail end of this field here. Actually, correction, that would be 17th. Well, actually, so that would be second to last here for the start of this feature. So, I mean, there could be, Jackson Lewis could also pull something out of his hat here and make something happen here. Jackson Lewis has been holding on to this 2nd place spot since the beginning of the race. He could very well push his way back up into that 1st place spot. David Payton, the 38 machine, who we saw leading this race at the very, very beginning, we could see these drivers all make a mistake going into turn 1, and David Payton or Brett Hahn or any other driver suddenly is in 1st place, and that's all she wrote. Oh man, that's why I love road courses, folks. It's just a lot of uncertainty. That things can change in the snap of a finger, and that's all it takes to make or break a race here at any road course. And I mean, that goes for oval racing too, but with road courses, I feel personally it's amplified even further. So as the safety car, has made its way back into pit road, we are back to green flag racing here once again, heading into turn 1. The 93 machine, real mean and aggressive on the brakes heading into turn 1, and that's exactly what you want. You want to be on those brakes real nice and heavy. Get yourself nice and steady heading into the turn so you can get yourself a nice turn in. But you don't want to send yourself spinning like we just saw Brett Hahn, Austin Nielsen do as well. A collection of cars here out of turn 3. Oh man, we got to get a replay of that. We've got to get a replay of that. All right, folks, so let's take a look at what exactly just unfolded here, because that was just absolutely tremendous what just unfolded. So we're looking at Austin Nielsen, the 52 machine. The 318. Oh, Matthew Catania getting into the side of Brett Hahn. Also collects into Austin Nielsen. Charles Darling getting involved. Brian Wildison as well. Man, oh man. And just a simple mistake like that, folks. And these cars, they're not designed for this kind of racing. I mean, they're designed to go bumping and grinding against one another, but they're not designed for it when they're turning into turns that don't have any sort of banking. They're turning right, which is completely against what these cars do in the first place, so there's that. I mean, it's just a lot of different things happening all at once here as Brian Wilderson gets a little bit of a love tap from the back from Austin Nielsen. Here as 8 laps left to go here before we see the checkered flag fly. And surprisingly, Andrew Payne still holding on to this lead, folks. And with right now just almost a second between himself and Jackson Lewis. 7 laps, folks. 7 laps. And that can seem like an eternity when you are behind the wheel. Right now, drivers are clicking off laps of about 40 seconds, and I can guarantee you, take that 40 seconds, multiply it by 7, and then take that number and multiply it by about 100, and that's about the time that you actually feel when you're behind the wheel, and it's, you know, you get told it's 7 laps left to go. It's tremendous. It's absolutely tremendous. But anyway, anyhow, it's still a little bit of racing left here to go, and there's still some battles happening down on track here. Not only for first place, kind of. Oh, wait, hold on a second. Okay, I apologize for that. I thought I saw something happening on our timing and scoring, but just a little bit of trickery happening. But either way, either how, between 3rd and it looks like 6th place here with Brett Hahn, there is still some intense battles happening. Hayden Swank trying to hold off the number 25 machine of Nick Fleury as they head on into turn 1. Nope, excuse me, that is not turn 1. That is going to be turn 3. I love that little section of track that they work through. Just all open throttle, just grinding their way through it as Nick Fleury right on the tail of Hayden Swank. With 5 laps left to go, these drivers are all just, man, I just love the action that we're seeing here down on track. Let's actually ride on board here for a moment from the hood. Excuse me, not the hood. From the roof camera of Nick Fleury in that 25 machine, getting real close to the rear end here of the 35 of Hayden Swank. As we charge our way out of turn 3, into 4, and out of 5 and across the checkered line, heading into turn 1. Very, very good work there from Nick Fleury. Hayden Swank, though, not quite what he was looking for heading out of turn 1. A little bit of a slip up there from the 35 machine, and that's going to allow Nick Fleury to catch up just by a little bit. Oh, man, these drivers are getting stacked up mighty, mighty close here and going to be competing for that 4th place spot. But Ron Hart, meanwhile, you know, sitting in 3rd place, he's got about nearly 5 seconds separating himself and Hayden Swank. And frankly, between the top 3, it is quite spread out. So really, it's tough to say. It's really, really tough. Once you get into that open air, when you're in the lead or just in any position in general, it's really just a matter of hitting your marks and staying consistent. The rest of the field will do the work for you pretty much at that point, as we only have 3 laps left to go. Nick Fleury still trying to stay right on the tail of Hayden Swank here. Let's ride out the rear view camera of the 35 of Hayden Swank here. With only 2 laps left to go, this is where the battle is out on track for 4th place at this moment. Nick Fleury still right on that tail. You can see Brett Hahn trying to get into the mix here as well. Hayden Swank, very, very good exit. Coming out of turn 3, I believe that was. And here we go. The white flag is out. It is the final lap here at Daytona for round number 6 of the American Sim Racing Club Super Late Model Touring Series. We got a little bit of contact from Nick Fleury to the wall. Makes contact with Brett Hahn, sends him spinning into the grass. That was a heck of contact there. We're going to have to go back and take a look at that replay here once we get across the checkered line here and wrap our race up. But that was quite the contact between those two drivers. I cannot believe that. The checkered flag is out. Andrew Payne across the line. He's going to take home the win here. Jackson Lewis taking home second. With Ron Hart in third. Hayden Swank taking home fifth. And Nick Fleury in fifth. Excuse me for the hiccups. So, real quickly, before we get into our post-race interviews as well as take a look at our finishing results here, I want to look at this incident here. So watch Nick Fleury here. Hits the wall. Brett Hahn, nowhere to go. Gets his front end into the rear of the 25 and sends him careening into the grass. That, man, Brett Hahn, he was having quite the run there towards the end, and to see that run be ended by a simple incident like that, that has got to be crushing. Absolutely crushing to that number 71 car. But either way, either how, we are going to get ourselves ready to go here for our post-race interviews and get ourselves started for that. So, up first in the booth, it is going to be Ron Hart in the 051 machine, starting off today's post-race interviews. Ron Hart, sir, do you have a read?
Yeah, guy.
Ron, this was really kind of the curveball of curveballs as far as races are concerned in this schedule. I mean, taking a road course and kind of just chucking it into the schedule, I mean, that's kind of already just kind of like, hey, let's have fun kind of moment. But to actually partake in it, race it, and place yourself into third place, I mean, walk me through tonight, man. I mean, this was the first time that us at Team Goon Squad have covered a road course race here with the American Sim Racing Club, and just our first preview of kind of the drivers' abilities here at a road course. So, Ron, walk me through your night and your expectations of what you were going to see here at Daytona.
Yeah, I guess we'll take it, man. Tanner's kind of got an evil genius over there throwing this at us in the middle of our short track season.
Gotta love him.
I didn't even know that this track existed until we got here. So it's not too bad. I remember the last time I ran a road course in this sim, so that was fun. I kept all 4 tires on the track for all 35 laps, so that was a success, and wound up third, so we'll take it.
Absolutely. Yeah, you know, you got to be satisfied with a podium anytime that it comes. So, I mean, taking it away with that, I mean, heading into next week here, I'm actually taking a look here, seeing where we're heading to next. It is going to be South Boston. So, after completing this road course and heading back to our normal scheduled events, how are you feeling about South Boston, and are you expecting to take away another podium next week?
Yeah, man, we got some good tracks coming up. I think we got South Boston and New Smyrna coming up, a couple of my favorites. I've been able to get a couple wins at those places recently, so I'm looking forward to getting back on some short tracks, some tight ovals, and beating and banging a little bit, and trying to get back maybe my forte more than this. But this was fun for something different. I wouldn't want to do it every week, but we'll take it.
Absolutely. Well, road courses, not everyone's cup of tea, but I personally, up here in the booth, I love to see it, even though it is not exactly with a car that you would particularly want to drive a road course on. But anyway, anyhow, Ron, you did a phenomenal job, as well as representing our home state, Michigan, on that 051 machine. I gotta love it.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. It was a good race for us.
Absolutely. Well, before we let you go, Ron, is there anyone at home, anyone watching the broadcast, or in the pit crew that you want to shout out and thank before we go?
And just Tanner for putting on this league, man. It's a fun league to run, and had some different flares like this in there is cool. I still tried to get him to put it on the big track, but couldn't do it, so we'll run this instead. Maybe next year we can get him to run a super speedway with it. But yeah, that was it, man. Thanks for the broadcast, Mason, and you guys do a nice job with it.
Thank you very much, Ron, and I look forward to seeing you next week heading into South Boston.
Have a good night.
You as well. Alrighty, folks. Ron Hart, the 05-1 car, taking home third place here tonight in the race here at Daytona. Up next, it is Jackson Lewis taking home second place in that number 7 car. Give me a moment as I find his. There he is. Jackson, sir, do you have a read?
Yes, sir, I do.
Jackson, welcome to the booth and welcome to the podium, taking home second place after, let's see here. Jackson, you have, if I'm not mistaken, you have won 2 races here in the season so far. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
So, coming away with, I believe that, if I'm not mistaken here, let's actually double check that I'm not mistaken here. So, yeah, you have 2 wins, well, now 3 wins in the season, and, well, not 3 wins, excuse me. 2 wins in the season, and now this would be your 3rd podium. So, you're doing fairly well in the season so far, and coming into a road course that, frankly, with a car that isn't very well set up for it, what were you expecting going into tonight? I mean, I don't think any driver here was expecting to come away with a podium by any means at all, but to come here in a super late model and perform the way that you did, I mean, you held second place all the way from the very start of the feature. I mean, that's a feat in of itself. So just walk me through your night, Jackson. I mean, what were your steps to prepare for Daytona tonight?
Yeah, I mean, to be completely honest, I mean, I knew Andrew was going to win. He's kind of like the road course ringer, it seems to be. I mean, first season that we ran, he was rocket ship fast at Lime Rock, and I knew once going here that he was going to win, and I just had no shot. I tried to save tires through the first and second segment, and I figured maybe I could beat him off the tire, but there was no save, and we didn't have enough tire wear, so I don't know. Just a lot of I didn't get much practice laps. I really hate road courses. I don't think we belong here, in my opinion, but I'm happy to go back to ovals the rest of the season.
Absolutely. Well, like I said to Ron Hart, road courses, not everyone's cup of tea, but you know, I like to see it splashed around every now and then personally, but I understand the distaste as a driver for not wanting to be at a road course in a car that, well, isn't exactly meant to be there. But Jackson, again, I want to congratulate you on taking a podium here tonight, taking second place here for round number 6 of the season. But before we let you go and celebrate tonight, is anyone watching the broadcast, anyone in the pit crew or at home that you want to shout out and thank before you go?
Yeah, I just want to thank you, Mason, for the broadcast. He's been doing a great job all season. Tanner for running this whole deal. He's been doing an awesome job with the whole officiating. I haven't seen a single missed call this year, at least on my end, so that makes me happy. And then I just got to thank RKM Setup Shop, www.rkmsetupshop.com. Get all your open setup needs there other than dirt side, sadly.
Well, absolutely, Jackson. Thank you for coming up here and joining me in the booth, and congratulations once again on taking second place here tonight, and I look forward to seeing you back at our regular scheduled programming at South Boston Speedway next week.
Bring back the ovals, baby.
Absolutely. Have a great night, Jackson.
You too.
All right, folks. Jackson Lewis, second place driver in the number 7 car, taking home, again, that second place spot here tonight. Last, certainly not least here, Andrew Payne, the road course dominant driver here. Andrew, I want to know, who did you pay to slap a NOS kit in that 93 car before the start of the race here?
Oh man, that's a secret. I won't tell anyone.
Well, Andrew, this was to start off, this was a great race to have. I mean, I've already heard a couple different opinions. You know, road courses seem to be not the favorite amongst the drivers. That's usually typical, you know, with oval course leagues. That's fair. But taking one of these road course races and kind of just chucking it in there every now and then in the season, personally, I'm all for it. I love it. And now for you as a driver, Andrew, once you put yourself up there in first place, it just seemed like you were unstoppable. And for a moment at the beginning of the feature, it looked like David Payton might have been the one to compete with. Now, did you expect any competition from any other drivers, or did you pretty much just go into it thinking like, I got this. This is in the bag?
Mason, I mean, kind of went into it actually not really having any knowledge on how tonight was going to go. It's been a little bit since we've raced on a road course in these cars. It's been probably about a year. And I know, the Xfinity cars when we run our other series, that doesn't really transfer quite the same because those have a lot more horsepower and weight. So, these are kind of their own little beasts on road courses. But, I kind of went into tonight expecting most of the top contenders each and every week to be up front. And, it appears that everyone was kind of the same. Honestly, I didn't expect to be that far out front based on our prior road course races. I know when we ran Lime Rock a few seasons back, Brett and I were really close with one another, and I'm sure you know how that race went last time, but we were really close, and I kind of expected the same thing tonight, but I guess this is kind of a different beast. There's a lot of high speed turns here that can really upset the car, especially going through the concrete section before going to the start finish line. That can upset the car a lot, but I didn't expect to be this dominant tonight.
Well, I mean, you definitely had quite the dominant performance, Andrew. I mean, you were looking at timing and scoring, it looks like you finished with just over 6.25 seconds between yourself and Jackson Lewis. So, I mean, you had just an unbeatable pace tonight. I mean, once you had it in the bag there, so to speak, it was unbeatable. And even with the competition cautions, it just seemed like no one else was able to match that consistency that you had here tonight, which I touched on a little bit during the broadcast, and I feel like that was kind of the key here for this race is consistency. I mean, it seemed like you were hitting those marks every single time. You were on the inside of those curves. You weren't shooting the turns too wide. We saw a lot of drivers heading into turn one, and they would just lock up those tires, and they would overshoot the apex by a mile. And it was just it's tough in these cars. I mean, it's not exactly like these cars are not designed to go around road courses, so you kind of have a lot stacked up against you. But Andrew, you were just on top of your game throughout this entire race. But we're going to be going back to oval course racing, and that's kind of going to be the end of it. I'm a little bit sad by it, Andrew, but I'm excited to see yourself up here on the podium once again, and I want to get your thoughts going into next week at South Boston before we give your shout outs and thank yous.
I mean, South Boston's going to be a totally different monster, especially from what we ran this week. But I've run decent there when we ran the modifieds there last season, and even in our first season of our Super Late Model Series. It'll be a little bit different than normal because I'm going to have to be starting in the back for the shotgun stuff. So it'll be a little different. Just kind of bide my time, not getting anything. I know. Obviously, that's the name of the game each and every week, is not get involved in anything, keep the car clean to the end, and that'll be even more prevalent when we do go to Sobo. I'm looking forward to going back to an oval. Hopefully, I can take this momentum from here and go out and put up a decent finish and maybe steal a win away next race. But honestly, the main goal is just to finish and complete all the laps the entirety of the season, and just continue kind of chipping away at points and hopefully go into the end of the season strong.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have looked incredibly strong this season thus far, and actually looking at the season standings at this point in time, you are at the very tippy top at this very point in time with 359 points, just above Brett Hahn with 356. So, Andrew, you have quite to work for going forward into the rest of the season, and hopefully going forward, I mean, you got yourself a pretty good spot going forward into the rest of the season. And I mean, I don't want to jinx you, Andrew, but hopefully we'll get to see you holding that trophy at the end of the season.
Yeah, you can only hope. I mean, I know points are going to reset with how the point structure is this season, so kind of spend my time collecting as many bonus points before that. And I know tonight was huge. I believe I got 6 additional bonus points going into the night, which is more than what I had. So just got to continue and hopefully continue the consistency throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like I said, you are the driver competing with the, well, now previous championship leader, Brett Hahn. So you have quite the season ahead of you, Andrew, and right now I look forward to seeing yourself and Brett Hahn duke it out for the entirety of the season here going forward. But Andrew, on that note, closing out the night here, is there anyone watching the broadcast, anyone in the pit crew or at home that you want to shout out and thank for your success here?
First and foremost, thank you guys at Team Goon Squad and you, Mason, for broadcasting the series in the league. QuickTime Motorsports Media, Hall Metal Fab, Citrus Head Sawn Mower, RogersCars.com. Huge thanks to my parents and grandparents for supporting me in all my racing endeavors. Thanks to the admin team for putting on a good league and a good show, and everyone who comes out and supports the league each and every week.
Absolutely. Thank you, Andrew, for coming up here and joining me in the booth, and congratulations on taking home the win here tonight at Daytona International Speedway, and I look forward to seeing you next week at Sobo.
Thank you, Mason.
Absolutely. Have a great night. All right. Oops, that's the wrong one. All right, folks, as I put myself in the wrong channel there, we are going to round out our broadcast here tonight, folks, taking the action here tonight from Daytona International Speedway and closing it out. Man, oh man, what a race that we had here. We saw some fantastic racing from the entire field here, and ultimately Andrew Payne, the 93 machine, taking home the win here for tonight's race. But before we head off tonight, I want to thank you all for tuning in and watching tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed what you saw, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Stay tuned with all the action that we have here on Team Goon Squad 7 days a week. And thank you all for watching once again, and I will see you all next week, same time and same place at Sobo. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next week.